For our project, our topic was the Brutalism of Belgrade. Our group members were Margot Haynes, Lexi Adkins, and Selma Begic. So for an overview of every topic we're going to cover in our project, we're going to go over just an explanation of the topic and everything that went into that, some designers that played an important role in the buildings of our style, the history of the Brutalism of Belgrade, and then what Belgrade looks like currently, and then some comparison to other designs. So first, I'm going to talk about the geography. So Belgrade is the capital of Serbia. Serbia is a country located in the Balkans of Europe. So before World War II, Belgrade was the capital, but then after the war, it had to be rebuilt because it was sadly destroyed. And then the new capital was called New Belgrade, and then the old one is Old Belgrade. So to talk a little bit more about the history, as I said, after World War II, a lot of buildings were destroyed, so a lot of the housing had to be rebuilt very quickly. Belgrade was also a communist society, so a lot of the spaces were based on community, and that was a big thing that society was centered around at this time. So what is Brutalism? Brutalism is an architectural design style that emphasizes different materials and textures and uses highly expressive forms, and it took place during the 1950s and 60s. So New Belgrade, after World War II, as I said, the new capital of Serbia became New Belgrade. New Belgrade was constructed in the years after the war, and it became a municipality in 1952, and that picture there is what it looks like today. So one of the first buildings we're going to talk about is Hotel Yugoslavia. It was opened in 1969 and designed by Lavoslav Horvat. It was once considered the greatest example of modern architecture in New Belgrade. Unfortunately, it gradually collapsed until it was closed down in the year 2000. And the next building was the Palace of Serbia. It was built during the 1950s by Vladimir Potocnjak. It is now used as a government building today, although it was first built as a palace. And the H shape of the building kind of emphasizes the idea of modernism, and Brutalism is also kind of considered modernism. So another prime example of a building built during this time is the Gen X Tower, which is also known as the Belgrade Western Gate. It was created in 1977 by Mihailo Mitrovic. The building itself is 35 stories high and is considered to be one of the most notable examples of Brutalism in Belgrade today. So some materials that were used during this time were concrete. It was used the most because of its reliability and convenience, glass, steel, white marble, and the picture on the left is the facade of the Palace of Serbia, which is made of white marble. So some repetitive design characteristics throughout the Brutalism of Belgrade. Materials were exposed throughout buildings, the use of monochromatic colors, emphasis on functionality, repetition of design elements, layered architectural and design elements as well, rectilinear edges as seen as the picture on the right, and large windows. Some important designers throughout this historical time, as seen on the left here, is Mihailo Mitrovic. We have Uroš Martinovic, Milutin Glavički, Dušan Milinković, Leonid Lenarčić, and Vladimir Počanjak. Alexei Kozhenkov is a photographer, and he was born in 1993, and he's a Moscow-based photographer and architecture enthusiast. In this picture is a part of his collab, and it is known as the exploration of Brutalism, architecture of present-day Serbia. Throughout his pictures, they all have a muted color scheme, aggregated forms, scale, and throughout the city, it was actually called the Blokovi, which means blocks, describing the building's formations. Some comparisons to other designs built during the same time period as Brutalism was the Sydney Opera. It is considered to be modernist, and that's the way that it is similar to Brutalism. A difference from Brutalist design is its varying materials and interesting design shape. Some political forces. Serbia was known to be a communist country. They did have shared labor until the political leader Joseph Broz Tito was appointed leader directly after World War II ended, and this is an image of him on the left. Some social factors that were going on during this time was shared childcare. A lot of different children were kind of being watched in different places, and neighborhoods were considered to be blocks, and each block was kind of unique in itself. Some economic factors that were going on during this time was poverty and unemployment. Kind of just coming out of the World War II, we are seeing kind of those factors come up, and it's kind of hard to come back from that. Some effects of the war were many people were being kind of displaced into new housing, and the new housing that they were building had to be built very quickly. And we kind of see lots of less ornamentation going on. Some comparisons to other architectures that this architecture is very unique and different. The flooring and the patterns are very repetitive, and we can see on the left the different levels that the building has and how they're emphasized with this architecture. This is a sculpture that we wanted to include. It's 19 meters high. They use concrete in the sculpture as well, and they were placed in rural settings. Some artistic forces that were going on during this time were the buildings, inside of the buildings were marble. The Palace of Serbia was the government building, and they used a lot of different gloomy and monochromatic colors. Some of the fun facts that we wanted to include was Belgrade has existed since 4,800 BC. Serbia was a landlocked country. Tito died on Selma's birthday in Bosnia. He's the ex-president and the leader. And there are different monumental locations, and now they're open to tours. Thank you.